Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. I have come across a very interesting article that I want to share with you. It says, could AMC stock be the next Carvana stock in 2024? Wouldn't that be fantastic? We're going to look at this article, read some of this article together, go over what's happening with AMC stock here in the markets today, and what the data look like this morning also. So hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you guys have not done so already. Thank you for watching, and let's get started. So, first things first, start with what's happening in the broader markets. So, let's go ahead and refresh this. We had big data today. Core PCE came in at 0.1%, lower than expected. Durable goods orders came in at 5.4%, higher than expected. The expected number was 2.2% for durable goods orders. Personal income month over month came in line with the estimate of 0.4%, and personal spending came in a little bit lower than the estimate. That is probably the worst part of this, because you wanted to see personal spending come in, better than the estimate. You wanted to see people are spending money, but still today was pretty much as Goldilocks as it will get. Okay, so that was great for markets today. Stocks went higher today. That is true. Stocks went higher today, especially your Russell stocks. Now, you are getting a little bit of a downturn at the time of recording this video. So the NASDAQ is now red. The S&P is now red, as well as the Dow. So basically everything is slightly in the red now. The VIX, actually, which is a little bit different, is declining about 1%. And we'll see what happens if this turns into another one of those flash crash like events. Markets are vulnerable here, but we continue to get good news that is supporting the rally. I mean, that's a simple fact of the matter. But at some point, it will stop, and the music will, stop, and we're going to be in for a problem. Okay, if you look at the S&P. You're overbought still at 71. Not as overbought as you were at 80 something, 83 or so this last Wednesday, when you did get that end of the day aggressive sell-off. But still, we are vulnerable for a pullback here, and that will likely happen on any bad data or any slight reason. So don't be surprised when that does happen. You also had Nike earnings that came in pretty good yesterday. Nike stock was actually up initially, and then Nike gave the guidance, said they were looking at laying off thousands of people, and the consumer is not expected to do all too well over the next 2 quarters or so. And that was something the stock really did not like. So we are getting some pretty aggressive moves here throughout the day today. Something we definitely want to be watching for and just see, because at some point this will shift and you will start to see a larger downside move. Now, AMC stock in particular is up about 0.5%. So a decent day today for AMC, surprisingly. Could be a lot worse. And I guess that's the narrative that I'm going to go with. Russell's up 1%, AMC's up 0.5%, still underperforming, but it could be a whole lot worse. So it's not terrible. AMC stock is back in the $6 range at $6.10 per share. After falling so much even recently, even as the markets have been rallying, this is great to see AMC stock just in the green today. If we take a look at the option activity, a little bit, on the weaker side as far as the total volume. Total volume on the call side is 60%. Total volume on the put side is 40%. So not as bullish as we have normally been used to. But it is a Friday after all, so I'm not going to, hold too much weight to that. If you look at the interesting flow sentiment, you have seen 3 orders totaling $123.65 thousand with a positive order value of 57%. So that is a little bit more on the bullish side, right? Hedge funds and institutions don't tend to be all too bullish on AMC stock that often. Now, short interest of free flow at 9.12%, $137 million worth of short positions in AMC stock. Days to cover, 1.11 days. 22.56 million shares that are currently sold short. Shares out on loan, 15.16 million. Cost to borrow, 1.09%. Utilization of 20.65%. And a short score of 50.05 out of 100. So not the most impressive numbers here. But again, I don't think these numbers are accurate at all. I think the short interest is likely hundreds of percents. So, you know, pretty dang far off from what we are seeing the legal numbers being. Now, if you take a look at this from Walter Bloomberg, we have a bull trap apparently that is setting up. UBS analyst sees the S&P falling to as low as 4,100 in the first half of 2024. So that would obviously not be fantastic. They go on to say, more precisely, analysts Michael Reisner and Mark McKellar see high potential that the S&P 500 is on its way to set an important tactical top as a setup for a negative surprise into Q1. Yikes. I mean, as much as some people might want to disagree with that, that's kind of where markets are set up, sitting at all-time highs with just really good data that has come out recently, right? So yeah, kind of have to agree with that as much as, you know, people might not want to. Given the above-mentioned technical factors, or it says, with a number of divergences in our indicator work, toppish trend momentum, our sentiment frame is in outright contrarian territory, the too low volatility, and taking into account extreme oversold yields, we still think that the current breakout is a setup for a classic bull trap instead of believing in the start of a larger breakout campaign, the analyst wrote in a note. So yeah, I mean that's up for debate, right? To say what's going to happen next, but definitely you are vulnerable here. In early Q1, we expect a first meaningful reversal as the setup for a negative surprise in U.S. global equities with an initial target projection of 4,100 into late Q1, early Q2, they concluded. So they are, trying to be precise here. Late Q1, early Q2 would be the March to, April area or time frame. I don't know. That's a very large fall. I mean, that would be very negative for AMC if that were to happen. That would be a 14% decline from here. That would put you back to the lows that you've seen in November, right? That would put you all the way back here when everyone was freaking out, thought this was going to be, a crash to go to new lows for our markets. That's where a crash to 410 would put us. So, yeah. I'm not certain on that, but hey, it is a possibility nonetheless. Now, if we take a look at the Stocko Tracker data here on the day today, you do have about 9,000 calls currently in the money. 97,000 calls out the money. In the money puts at 25,000. Out the money puts at 17,737. So there definitely is a decent amount of puts expiring in the money today, about 25,000. In the money calls at 9,000. So the calls, really the puts, everyone continues to get whacked on options in AMC, and I think that's a good lesson. Really, trading options in AMC, especially right now, makes zero sense to me, especially as AMC continues to dilute its shareholders. That's just the last place I would really want to be. Now, we do have a new AI investor sentiment survey that is out. 52.9% of investors are bullish, 26.2% of investors are neutral, and 20.9% of investors are bearish. So the bulls are firmly in control. And again, that's one of those contrarian indicators to say maybe we're just so bullish it could turn bearish quickly. So that's definitely something we do want to be watching for, as the sentiment indicators are just so optimistic as of right now. If we take a look at 10-year Treasury yields, not doing a whole lot of anything today. Really just nothing, up marginally, something you can't even really quantify. So kind of just trading sideways today. Beyond that, not too much is actually happening. Nike earnings were a big deal, and the data that came out this morning, but that was it. Stocks declining a little bit more here into the close of trading, so we'll see where that does go. If this does turn into another kind of flash crash like event, that's obviously not going to be great. And I think at this point, it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy. You know, once stocks start to fall, people are like, hey, it's overbought, we should jump in and short the stock as well. That's kind of what it seems like is playing out at this point. But again, we will see. Now, if you take a look at the 10 and the 2-year yield curve, it is still inverted 44 basis points, so really not moving at all right now. When you actually start to rise here, when you start to go uninverted, when you start to get like 20 basis points inverted, 10 basis points inverted, that's where the pain can actually come in the markets. That's typically where the pain does come in the market. So definitely want to be on the lookout for that one. But so far, nothing is really changing all too much. If you take a look at the Fed Fund Rate Monitor tool, take a look at what markets are pricing in. So right now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rate cuts currently have a probability of 36.7%. 7 rate cuts have a probability of 32.9%. The probability of 8 rate cuts actually increasing today as well to 9.3% from 7.3% yesterday. So if we start to get bad economic data that comes out very quickly, are you going to start pricing in 8, 9 rate cuts? And that's going to be a very big problem for stocks. So that's something I'm personally watching very closely, because 6 rate cuts, could you make the argument that's just because inflation is declining and you want to get back to somewhat of a neutral stance, maybe slightly restrictive? Sure. 8, 9 rate cuts, you're going to make the argument there that the economy is just weakening, right? And that would not be great news. So there is that. There's not really too much else to say here. We can take a look at the Atlanta Fed GDP Now tracker and see what the markets are currently pricing in for GDP. And based on today's data, it looks like the GDP estimate did fall a little bit to 2.3%, but we are going to get more data and more information. So definitely we'll be on the lookout for that one. But yeah, if we take a look at AMC, quick look at what's going on with the stock. You're now in the red today. AMC stock is at $6.07 per share as this sell-off in the markets is accelerating. You guys can see that right here. Kind of the same setup we had for Wednesday, which is unfortunate for the bulls out there that wanted to see the markets continue higher. Yeah, it's just not looking like that's in store for us today here on this Friday. AMC stock is pretty close to going back into the 5s. We do want to see if we can stay above that and stay in the 6s. 6s are better than 5s, right? So I don't know if that's going to happen, guys. AMC is diluting shareholders again, this time smaller, like 3.3 million shares, but it's still, they're diluting shareholders nonetheless. So that is a problem that at least we are having right now. AMC continues to dilute shareholders, and until the dilution stops, yeah, it's just going to be a problem or difficult for AMC stock to rally. So there is that, guys. Let me know what you guys think about all of this information. We don't have any specific news that is really causing this sell-off as well. Yeah, if you guys have opinions or theories, let me know down below in the comment section. Thank you for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one.